Thanks for joining us. I'm Luxmy Gopal. Well, as you've been hearing, the Chancellor's spending review has set out budgets for government departments. So what does all this mean for London? Well, let's start by looking at some of the key points. Transport for London is getting a £2.2 billion funding boost over the next 4 years, but there'll be no money for new transport links, including the planned extension of the DLR. After confirming last autumn that HS2 will run all the way to Euston, remember that, today the Chancellor put a figure on the funding to make that happen. But disappointment from City Hall as the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, criticises what he says is insufficient funding for the Met Police. We'll get analysis in a moment, but first our transport correspondent Tom Edwards has spent the day in Thamesmead getting some reaction. Thank you. So a lot to digest there. So to help assess the overall picture, I'm joined by our political editor, Carl Mercer, and Antonia Jennings, who's chief executive of the think tank Centre for London. I'll come to you in a moment, Antonia, but first of all, Carl.
Out of it. In fact, they've got very little.
Well, it's a bit of a turnout for the books, both sides on the same page there around disappointment that there's no money for new transport links. And Antonia,
we know that there are mechanisms such as land value capture, because in London we know that £1 out of every £4 that the Treasury gets.
But when it comes to the amount that's going towards housing, we know it's £3.9 billion a year for 10 years. But how much of that's coming to London?
That's the problem. We don't books over the coming years. But I mean, I think just under £1 billion a year. But again,
that figure is. But just to couch this in terms of new building, now is the time for action.
Well, just on the temporary accommodation, of course, a huge factor in councils needing more money. How happy might they be today, London Council?
I think, again, there'll be a little bit
costs.
Absolutely, something that we have covered a lot and will no doubt return to. There's so much more we could unpack, but that's it for now. That's all we've got time for. But Antonia and Carl, thank you very much. Now, away from spending news, let's leave that for now. There is still plenty more to come on the programme.
After teachers wrongly suspected that she'd been carrying cannabis.
Sonia, she has, of course, as you say, admitted a series of failings, but she denies that that was gross misconduct.
That's right. She
Rich is here. Ben, I don't know about you, but I can't guarantee I'm going to be around in 2043.
Oh, wow.
Are you?
let's be optimistic, shall we?
I just mean generally. Probably good to get a chance to see it now, right?
It would be
lovely. Ben, thank you. Now, I may not be here in 2043, but I will try to be here later for you with our 10:30 programme. But for now, from all of us here on the BBC London Tea Time News, have a very good evening. Goodbye. Thanks for joining us. I'm Luxmy Gopal. As you've been hearing in the news, the Chancellor's spending review has set out budgets for government departments. Tonight, we look at what that means for London. Well, Transport for London is getting a £2.2 billion funding boost over the next 4 years, but there'll be no money for new transport links, including the planned extension of the DLR. After confirming last autumn, you'll remember that HS2 will run all the way to Euston. Today, the Chancellor put a figure on the funding to make that happen. But disappointment from City Hall as the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, criticises what he calls insufficient funding for the Met Police. Our transport correspondent, Tom Edwards, has been getting reaction today in Thamesmead. That's it for now. Good night.